For a first-time home buyer, what are some major things to look for when taking a tour of a potential house? GP back at different times during the day and night, and maybe even on weekdays. Some areas look and sound great at one time of the day, but may have traffic issues, nearby traffic noise from a street you can't see, train noise, etc. These can really affect your quality of life in a place you will live in for years. I'll be honest, some of this advice is the house hunting equivalent of to get a job. You walk in and ask for an application and shake the manager's hand. None of this advice is wrong, it's just a little outdated for many urban markets. Houses are selling near instantly. If you're in a big city, you'll probably have to skip most due diligence and act immediately, or your offer won't be accepted. If that's too risky for you, fair enough. If it is, you'll need to wait for the market to calm back down. Don't buy from a divorcing couple. We almost did and are glad we backed out at the last minute. Everything took longer because every request and offer had to go to both parties who weren't on speaking terms. They also refused to budge on the price even though no other offers were made. By the time they finally came down $5,000, we were done. We found out that it took them another year to sell it, and all that time they had to pay taxes, utilities, and someone to mow the lawn. Set your phone to play a song at max volume. Set it down in the TV room, kitchen, and bathroom and then walk around the house. It's very helpful to know how much sound travels and to where. Inspection of chimney flues are not typically part of the home inspection. They require separate examination by a chimney specialist. After buying a house, we found out the hard way that the chimney flue for the fireplace had loose liner tiles and needed a stainless steel flue liner installed for $5,500 before the fireplace could safely be used. Check the foundation, then hire a third-party inspector to check the foundation. We missed this little step and ended up spending $16K to have ours fixed after only a year into the house, but 2 years past the home builder's warranty. It would have been totally worth the $400 for the inspector. Check under the sinks for any water damage or warp boards. If the cabinets under the sink have a fresh coat of paint, that could be sus. If there is attic access, check to see what the wiring looks like. Is it a chaotic mess, or are the wires running along the joists and beams? While walking through the house, put your head against the wall and look down the length to see if you notice bulges or dips. Pay attention to the amount and locations of electrical outlets. Try to envision your stuff and if it will fit. There were a lot of little things we missed because we were excited about moving into our first home, like light switches in the bathroom behind the door. Really, the school zone changing like 4 doors down from us, putting our child in a whole other district, further away than the school across the street. Cable company won't access our area and had to change after 15 years with the same cable company. The slope of the backyard diverts the rainwater straight to the house foundation. For our area, the gas company is in a city over 200 miles away. We live right outside of a major city. Neighbors on 3 sides of us have dogs that bark all night long. One of them right outside my child's bedroom window. A lot of this would not be considered major, but it was stuff I missed and is now slowing down or stopping me from making improvements. I thought I would just have the light switches in the bathroom moved, but with the mess of wiring it would be a lot bigger project to do. When I tried to add plywood to the attic space to have a little bit of a floor for storage, I was having to cut notches and gaps everywhere because of how the wiring was just a mess of tightly stretched wires in all directions. Whoever designed the home thought that one electrical outlet per bedroom was enough. It is not. Our cabinets under the sink looked so clean and new. It turned out to be fresh paint covering water damage and rotting boards. Tried installing a long shelf on the wall in the living room to discover the wall had over a 1-inch bow in the middle, leaving gaps on each end of the shelf. If at all possible, Don't rush, take your time to really check the place and neighborhood out. Go back by the house at different times of day and days of the week, to see what it is really like around there. You might miss out on the house, but it is better than buying and having regrets later. We have only been in our home for 2 years now and have already decided this is not our final home. We will find another home and this time be more thorough when checking it out. If there's a dropped ceiling, pop some of those tiles up and take a look to see what it's hiding. We didn't, neither did the appraiser, and it was hiding a lot of water damage. The seller just kept replacing the tiles. Also, if it doesn't have gutters, make sure it at least has a French drain system. This applies mostly for foreclosed homes or homes that the bank left sitting for a while. First question you should ask is how long the house has been sitting empty. Seasonal changes are hard on houses that aren't running AC/heat. In the summertime the house essentially boils from the humidity trapped inside, in the winter everything freezes. If the house isn't taken care of fast enough they'll end up with flooded basements, burst pipes, peeling walls, and mold. If the basement has cement floors, but the walls and rafters look like they've recently been painted white with latex paint, ask for the work that has been done since the last homeowners left. In the housing business, when a basement becomes moldy they'll send somebody in to fog the basement with a mildew spray to kill the mold, and then they paint over it with something like Kills. Just because they treated the mold doesn't mean they removed the source. I've seen everything from 5 of water in a flooded basement from a burst pipe to 2 inches of standing water that seeped into the walls that wasn't taken care of because the power was shut off and the sump pump wasn't on. If you find a home you like, have an electrician you know or one from a place you can trust go over the house. A fuck ton of houses have jerry-rigged or severely out-of-date electrical systems. If a home has a chimney, make sure it's properly sealed. I've torn out literal tons of drywall out of houses because water leaked around the chimney and caused water damage, mold. Do these 2 things if nothing else. Get a second opinion via a second appraisal. Just pay the extra money. Oftentimes the person who get hired knows one of the realtors and is slightly biased. Cover your ass this way. Secondly, see the house at least twice. 3 times is better. The first time you go through a house you will miss things because it's new. The second time you'll catch more, etc. Remember your realtor is working for you. Make them work for their money. Don't go crazy but still. Firstly, don't get emotionally attached to a house. When you're looking, think realistically about how you'd live in it. That helps you see what would be issues with it you'd want to change in the future. Less issues the better. Look for water damage. Do the windows need updating? Did the previous owner have indoor pets? Wall cracks? Floor feel level? Stay away from homes with sump pumps. Look at the property history for things like drastic rises in price or multiple sales in a short time frame. Look at it on a crime map and Megan's Law. Drive through the neighborhood at night so you can check out the numbers. If it's close to a school, check it out during drop-off and pick-up times to see how school traffic will affect you. Beware flip houses. My experience is they really only do cosmetic updates to hook buyers. Cosmetic fixes are easy to do yourself over time or even before you move in if you have the budget, but it's a lot harder and more costly to fix a bad structure. Always get it inspected and never assume the previous owner took care of their home. Always have older homes tested for lead. I strongly suggest getting any house tested for mold because it can be a small fortune to get rid of. Get the water tested too, especially if it's well water or an older home. You can always make the homeowner fix things before you purchase or use it to lower their price. Always look at a house 3 times. Once before you make an offer, once after you've made an offer, And once after your offer is accepted, each time you go back you'll see the house in a different way since you're at a different point in the process. Do a practice commute once or twice, see what the traffic's like and get a sense of when you'll need to leave in the morning. In the bathroom, check to see if the bath shower feels like cheap plastic. Sometimes it's a mold fitted over the original to hide it if it's in poor quality. Check out the neighborhood. Is there any place you can walk, or do you have to drive everywhere? What kind of restaurants, stores, etc. are in the area? If the house is near a popular road, stand near the windows and see if you can hear the traffic outside. Knock on doors and talk to the neighbors. Climb in the attic and see what you see. There was some plastic in mine and the inspector didn't think to ask. Turns out from time to time the AC unit leaked during rainstorms and it dripped on the insulation, and when we got a lot of rain it ran onto the ceiling. Anything that really seems out of place, you may have to move some bushes. Deck was supported by several poles about 8 feet high and covered with lovely ivy. None of us noticed that it also covered that some of the poles were rotted through. Come back at night and walk around the area. Get a sense of the noise level / safety / atmosphere of the neighborhood. Have a plumber look at the major plumbing. I did not do this and ended up dropping $6,000 on all new plumbing my first year of ownership. Look for cracks in walls, ceilings. Check the sales history. A house that's been bought and sold a lot typically hasn't been as well cared for as one with long ownership. Pay attention to things you can't change. For example, if you hate the kitchen cabinets you can always upgrade. But if the kitchen is small you might not be able to expand it based on the layout. I know it's not an easy thing to plan. But my wife and I went touring homes on a rainy day and it highlighted several things we wouldn't have noticed in certain homes had we went on a sunny day. Examples: flood-prone yards, driveways, leaky screened and porch that pooled water in corner, leaky window seal. Get pre-approved by your bank for a loan and make sure everything is good to go before you even start looking. Also find a responsive realtor. The market right now where we live is insane and I'm sure it's similar elsewhere. Our realtor was amazing and gave us the advice to get approved before looking and it helped so much. We finally found a house on MLS hours after it went up for sale. Got in to see it that day and made a bid the next day that got accepted. Also don't settle for less than what you want or for something overpriced just because the market sucks. Houses are moving quickly and inventory is low, but there will be other houses up for sale if you just keep looking. Our realtor, who has been doing this a long time, said that she's never seen the market like this. It's definitely rough for buyers. Best of luck. The number one right answer is this, and you need to listen to this and ignore every other comment. You need to trust your realtor enough to have this discussion with them and know that they won't steer you wrong. If you can't do that, then get a new realtor. If you try to do this on your own, or with someone you don't trust, or by doing stupid research online, you will get screwed. That is the only correct answer here. This sounds ridiculous, but check the storage areas, even the kitchen cupboards. Somehow I didn't notice that the kitchen cupboards in our house were about 5 inches deep. You can get a single row of coffee mugs in them, and that's it. There were about 2 million other glaring issues that I missed, but this was just such a stupid thing to not notice. Cast iron pipe used for a main line. Houses built in the 70s and earlier used cast iron pipes for water and sewer. These pipes rust and crack and are expensive as hell to get fixed, especially if the house is on a slab. Have the pipes scoped before buying. If you do buy the house and plan on replacing the flooring, think about having the cast iron pipes replaced. Pay attention to the maintenance. My mom asked me what color the bathroom was. I couldn't remember, but I knew the water heater was new and the air conditioning was old, etc. If someone was having trouble paying the mortgage, those things get neglected. Also remember that even if you don't want kids, A good school district helps resale value later. If you're buying an older house, look for things like lead paint, PCB oil-containing devices, and asbestos. Also, if there are any trees or plants with long roots, make sure to have all sewage lines inspected for ingress. Edit. Oh, this one is big nowadays. Check what options for ISPs you will have, and what their max speeds are. Make sure it's not HO, unless you hate yourself. They can change rules, so even if you like their rules change of leadership, if you're getting spammed with fines for new rules, setup it can sometimes even lock you into improvement loans for things like sidewalks or other things. Just leaves you wide open to get screwed. Second, get expert to look that isn't with Realtor at it. Take note when walking through of water damage, settling anything to be concerned about to make sure inspector notices and double checks. Only human, they still miss stuff. Pay attention to neighbors. Every bad neighbor situation I have seen was spottable. 2 of friends ended up with nightmare neighbors. One, it was dogs barking all night. They had like dozen dogs in backyard, literally taking note of that they could have seen risk. Other one was junkies next door that ended up partying with dead person for like 2 weeks. It took me like 5 minutes after showing up to see it as a drug den. Number of cars, people pulling up leaving 5 minutes later, black out windows. It was super sketchy. Look into how much the house last sold for and when. In a seller's market, such as now, many homes are selling for way over their true value. Do your research for the area, the neighborhood, what their houses were going for 5 years ago, in what condition, and what exactly has been done to justify a 50/100/200+ % increase besides supply versus demand. The shit that going on now is a screaming bubble that will likely burst, taking a lot of people down with it. You're right, hot market areas are different. I bought when the market was slow as hell. Basically, first house was a learning curve for me, just going off what I did, but different circumstances require different methods. If there's a dryer in the home, figure out how the dryer is venting. If you can't find an outside vent for the dryer, there's a decent chance that it's venting into the wall or ceiling. Quite possible if you're buying something that was recently renovated. Figure out which thermostat controls which room's heat, and make sure that's written down in the report. If you buy this house, you'll want that referenced later when having work done. If the house is older than 1930 or so, ask explicitly whether they have knob and tube wiring, and get the inspector to explicitly state whether they do or don't have knob and tube wiring. If the inspector can't tell you, get another one. Check out the backyard. Where does the sun rise and set? Where will the sun be when you are primarily outside? Will you have enough of a balance between shade and sun? In our first home we had no shade and we rarely went outside in the summer when we were home from work. The sun was always directly above our yard, and since we didn't have shade we were miserable, so we would go back inside. Never go with the inspector your realtor recommends, since they likely have a working relationship. The inspector may miss certain things that they feel might kill the deal, like something that may be too expensive to fix. While they get paid either way, the realtor only gets paid when the deal goes through, so better go online and search for good inspectors in your area, or the area you're buying in. Check the age of the windows. There should be a date code in the frame, as well as check for broken seals on them. Moisture between the paints. Try and get an estimate for when the roof was last done and how old the major appliances like furnace and AC are. Each of these repairs will cost thousands, so hopefully they won't be needed anytime soon after buying. Chewing gum on the ground. Antisocials love to put it on the ground, and if you see a large bundle of them stuck down, there are either a lot of bad people around or the landowners don't think the place is worth cleaning once a year. Water pressure. But make sure you turn off the tapes when you leave. Learn to spot water damage. fire damage, signs of infestation. Estate agents are bound by law to reveal anything they know is wrong with the house, or issues ... for sale by owner is not. Never go with the inspector your realtor recommends, since they likely have a working relationship. The inspector may miss certain things that they feel might kill the deal, like something that may be too expensive to fix. While they get paid either way, the realtor only gets paid when the deal goes through, so better go online and search for good inspectors in your area, or the area you're buying in.